The Galactic Empire's victory broadcast stretched across half the known star systems like a smug smirk. On every view screen, every hollow podium, every shimmering banner that flickered on the edge of deep space, the same message pulsed in bold alien glyphs translated for Terran eyes. The human resistance is no more. Their women warriors are captured. Earth is tamed. And then came the face. Overlord Zyrak himself, scales polished, eyes glinting with the cold arrogance of someone who had never lost a battle, not even in childhood strategy tournaments on Draconis Prime. His voice oozed imperial satisfaction as he raised one clawed hand to silence the cheering soldiers behind him. "Let this day be remembered," he intoned, as the final breath of Terran defiance. Their so-called soldiers will now serve the Empire, and their spirit of rebellion extinguished. The camera angle widened for maximum dramatic effect, showing a ragged line of human women soldiers being marched into an Imperial transport. Chains clinked. Helmets dangled from bruised fingers. Not one of them spoke, but their eyes burned with a quiet, dangerous fire. The Empire thought that fire was gone. They were wrong. Perched high above the Imperial landing site, a lone figure lay on her stomach in the dirt, watching the scene unfold to the cracked scope of a battered Terran sniper rifle. Her gum popped loudly in her mouth. "Extinguished, huh? Cute speech, Dad. Real touching," she muttered, adjusting the scope's focus. Lyra Zyrak, half human, half Imperial warlord, and fully ticked off, tilted her head to get a better beat on the back of Overlord Zyrak's skull. The breeze carried the scent of ozone and charred trees from the Empire's latest victory celebration. It reminded her of every other world her father had pacified since she was a child. She'd hated those smells then, and she hated them now. A rabbit scurried nearby. Lyra didn't flinch. She'd been still for hours, lying among the roots and weeds in her black combat suit patched up with duct tape and stubbornness. The Empire's sensor drone zipped lazily through the skies above, but they never noticed her. Humans weren't supposed to be this good at hiding. Their first mistake, she thought with a grim smile. Betty, her rifle, gave off a soft hum as she calibrated for wind drift. Betty was old, primitive by galactic standards, but she was Terran-made, reliable, deadly, and temperamental if you didn't treat her right. "Don't worry, Betty," Lyra whispered, running a gloved hand down the barrel. "We'll get our chance." Let the old lizard monologue a little longer. On the plateau below, the alien soldiers formed a tight formation as Overlord Zyrak approached the line of prisoners. Lyra's half-siblings, alien nobles in ceremonial armor, watched from hover thrones. This right here is why I never come to family reunions," Lyra murmured to herself. Through her scope, she caught sight of the youngest captive, Captain Reyna Torres, leader of the last Terran strike squad. Blood crusted on Reyna's brow, but her eyes stayed locked on the Overlord with defiance Lyra instantly respected. "Don't you break," Lyra whispered. "I swear if you break before I can save you, I'll—" "Perimeter clear," crackle of voice in Lyra's earpiece. It belonged to Zog, an alien defector, and her only ally in this mess. He was currently disguised as an Imperial sanitation officer emptying trash units aboard the flagship. "Clear? Are you sure?" Lyra murmured back. "Of course I'm sure. No human could possibly get through Imperial shielding except—" "Oh, wait! That's you. Smart boy. Do you even have a plan, or are you going full Rambo again?" "Rambo worked fine last time. You blew up 3 starports. They were ugly starports." Lyra's hand hovered over the trigger. She could end it now. One shot, clean and simple. Overlord Zyrak's skull would split like a melon, and the prisoners would scatter in the chaos. But no, that wasn't good enough. She didn't want him dead. Not yet. He needed to know. "Not today, Betty," she whispered, flipping the safety back on. Instead, she tapped into the Imperial comms with a few quick flicks on her wristband. Years ago, she'd stolen her father's personal encryption codes over Christmas dinner. He never noticed. Too busy lecturing her about discipline and forbidding her from playing Mortal Kombat. The comm hissed alive. Lyra's voice, cool and mocking, piped directly into every soldier's helmet. "Hey, Dad, guess who?" The entire field froze. Even the prisoners looked up. Zyrak's spine stiffened. Lyra, you're getting sloppy, old man. Arresting Earth's women soldiers? I mean, classic Imperial overreach. You do realize you just pissed off half the galaxy, right? Show yourself. Zyrak bellowed. Not yet. Her voice dropped to a deadly whisper. First, I want you to think about how a primitive half-breed just hacked your flagship with an Earth-made wristwatch. Panic rippled through the alien ranks. One soldier slipped on spilled Terran soda and went down hard. Another stared wide-eyed at a tube of duct tape, whispering, "What is this weapon?" Lyra's laughter crackled over the comms. "Consider this foreplay, Dad. You took something from me. My squad. My home. Now I'm going to take something from you. And when I'm done, the entire Empire will know what happens when you mess with Earth girls." Overlord Zyrak growled low in his throat. "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, I would. I'm a little trigger-happy. Runs in the family." High above the field, Lyra dismantled her sniper nest with quick, precise movements. The prisoners would have to wait a little longer. For now, she needed to sow chaos, to make the Empire fear the way they'd made humanity cower for decades. She slid Betty into her scabbard, popped her gun with a loud snap, and whispered, "Daddy's girl is home." And just like that, Lyra vanished into the shadows as the first Imperial alarms began to wail. Next move's mine. The Imperial flagship loomed above Earth like a blade balanced on a thread, all sleek obsidian plating and pulsating crimson lights. Its armored hull reflected the blue of the planet below, a perfect reminder of what was at stake. Inside, thousands of alien soldiers scuttled across polished corridors, their clawed feet clicking in perfect rhythm, oblivious of the chaos about to unfold in their precious war machine. Lyra crouched in the belly of a stolen cargo skiff, smirking as the flagship's automated docking arms pulled her closer. "Let's see how tight your security really is, Daddy," she whispered. The skiff shuddered as it docked. Lyra popped her last stick of bubblegum into her mouth and pulled the brim of her patched-up cap lower over her eyes. Her disguise wasn't elegant. An Imperial janitor's uniform she'd swiped off a very confused alien who now sat bound and gagged in a supply crate. The sleeves hung long over her hands, but the mop slung across her back wasn't for cleaning. It was Betty, her sniper rifle in collapsible form. The ramp hissed open. 2 alien guards glanced at her lazily. "Sanitation crew?" one asked in the Empire's guttural tongue. "Yup," Lyra replied in perfect alien dialect, flashing her forged ID badge. "Your waste disposal unit's been flagged for a level 4 biohazard. Turns out, someone's been dumping spoiled krellfish stew into the recyclers." The guards wrinkled their scaled noses in disgust and waved her through. "Suckers," she thought as she slipped past. Once inside, Lyra moved like a shadow, hugging the walls as Imperial soldiers strode by in pairs, gossiping about the human prisoners in holding. "They're tougher than expected," one said, adjusting his blaster. "Captain Torres dislocated Private XYRN's mandible during interrogation. Typical Terran stubbornness," his companion grunted. Lyra's fingers twitched near Betty's folded barrel. "Damn right we're stubborn," she thought. She ducked into a side passage just as another pair of soldiers rounded the corner. Her heart thudded in her chest, not from fear but from anticipation. "Focus," she murmured to herself. The flagship's blueprints flickered across her wristband display. Objective 1, disable the gravity stabilizers. Objective 2, fry the comms relay. Objective 3, send Daddy Dearest a message he'll never forget. She made it as far as the gravity core before her earpiece crackled. "Lyra, you alive in there?" It was Zog, her reluctant sidekick, and the most anxious alien she'd ever met. "Define alive," she muttered under her breath. "I've rerouted your heat signature through the janitorial systems. But you're on thin ice. One wrong move and the flagship sensors will fry you like a Terran corn dog. Relax. I've seen Die Hard 17 times. I've got this." "I don't know what a Die Hard is, but that sounds ominous." Lyra smirked as she pulled a small EMP device from her belt. "Okay, Betty, time for your warm-up." She pressed the device to the stabilizer console and whispered a mock prayer. "Dear Empire, enjoy your zero-gravity ballet." The device chirped once. then twice, then boom. The floor lurched as the artificial gravity shut off. Aliens howled in surprise as they drifted into the air, limbs flailing like panicked spiders. Lyra floated gracefully, pushing off a wall with practiced ease. "You should see them, Zog," she said, laughter bubbling in her chest. "It's like watching cats in a tumble dryer." Meanwhile, Overlord Zyrak stalked the bridge, claws clicking on polished metal. "Find her," he roared. "My daughter is aboard this ship. Do not underestimate her. She's half-human, which makes her unpredictable, irrational, and unreasonably sarcastic." The voice came over the ship-wide intercom. Every soldier froze. Lyra's voice. "Hi, Dad," she drawled. "You're probably wondering how I got on your precious flagship. Let's just say your security's about as airtight as a screen door on a submarine." Zyrak's spine stiffened. "Seal the control deck. Double the patrols." "Already too late for that, Daddy," Lyra purred. "But don't feel bad. You always did underestimate me. Remember when you took away my PlayStation and said, 'Humans are too emotional for combat'? Cute theory. Let's test it." In the engineering bay, Lyra floated toward the comm relay, legs scissoring gracefully like a ballerina. She unspooled duct tape from her belt, tearing it with her teeth, and began rigging explosives around the console. "Zog, how's it looking?" "Terrible. The Empire's dispatching 3 squads your way." "3 squads? Ah, they shouldn't have. I didn't even bring wine." "You're not funny, Lyra. Tell that to the guys floating around like they're in a snow globe." A siren blared above her. Heavy boots clanged against the floor as gravity abruptly re-engaged. Lyra slammed to the ground on one knee, grunting from the impact. "Betty," she muttered, snapping the rifle into full form. "Showtime." The first squad burst in, blasters raised. "Freeze, human." Lyra raised her hands, then dropped to her stomach and fired. The shot echoed like thunder in the confined space. 2 soldiers crumpled before they could even scream. The others opened fire wildly, but she was already rolling behind a console. "Betty, don't let me down," she whispered. 1 shot. 2. 3. The last soldier stumbled back with a smoking hole through his chest plate. "Nice try, boys. Next time, bring a plan." She bolted for the exit as more boots thundered behind her. On the bridge, Zyrak slammed a clawed fist onto the console. "Seal the hangars." She cannot escape. But the display in front of him fizzled, replaced by Lyra's grinning face. "Hey, Dad, you're looking stressed. Maybe try yoga." "Lyra." "Sure. I'm talking now. You took my squad. You took my planet. I'm taking your ship. And when I'm done, the galaxy's going to laugh at how a half-breed with duct tape and bubblegum took down the mighty Overlord Zyrak. You will not survive this. That's the thing, Dad. I don't plan to survive. I plan to win." She winked, and the screen cut to static. In the hangar bay, Lyra sprinted for a sleek escape pod. The ship rumbled as her rigged explosives tore through the comm relay and auxiliary power. Lights flickered. Gravity failed again, and bodies floated like rag dolls. She slammed her palm onto the pod's hatch. It hissed open, but just as she climbed in, her earpiece crackled. "Lyra, wait! They've locked the hangar doors. You'll be trapped." Zog's voice was frantic. "Not if I blow the hinges first." "You don't have enough." She set her last charge and grinned. "Zog!" Never underestimate an angry Earth girl. The charge detonated with a roar. The hangar door groaned, then ripped free, sucking half the bay's contents into the void. Lyra's pod shot forward, tumbling end over end before the thrusters roared to life. Inside, she strapped in and let out a shaky laugh. That's 2 for Betty. On the flagship, Zyrak stared at the hole in his hangar bay, fury rolling off him in waves. Daughter or not, she will pay. But even as he spoke, a gnawing unease curled in his gut, because for the first time in his life, he wasn't entirely sure he could stop her. And Lyra knew it too. The Imperial flagship drifted through orbit like a wounded predator, its sleek hull scarred by fires and smoking ruptures. Inside, alarms wailed in a dozen alien dialects. Lights flickered with dying energy, and soldiers scrambled to restore some semblance of order. The corridors that once gleamed with Imperial precision now smelled of ozone and fear. Lyra padded silently along the upper maintenance ducts, crouched low to avoid motion sensors. The metal beneath her palms vibrated faintly from the thrum of emergency generators. She smirked. That thrum meant her improvised EMPs had worked better than expected. Half the ship was flying blind, and her father's voice, usually a booming, unflappable growl, kept crackling over the intercom with uncharacteristic frustration. Seal the control deck. Activate all internal defenses. That half-breed human cannot. The transmission broke off in a burst of static. Lyra snorted softly. Can't what, Daddy? Outthink you? Outshoot you? Outsnark you? Hate to break it to you, but you raised me with die-hard reruns. That's on you. She checked her wristband. The path to the control deck was clear. So far, Zog's hacked feed showed Imperial squads searching other sections of the ship, convinced she was still in engineering. Perfect. Lyra, Zog's voice whispered in her ear, trembling. You're insane. That deck is locked down tighter than an Imperial treasury. Zog, relax. I told you, I'm not leaving until I have a chat with dear old Dad. And trust me, it's going to be therapeutic. This isn't therapy, it's suicide. Potato. At the control deck's main doors, 2 hulking guards stood at attention, their plasma rifles humming with lethal promise. Lyra pressed herself against the ceiling, heart hammering but her grin sharp as a blade. She reached for her utility pouch and pulled out a Terran relic, a cherry-red yo-yo. Zog's panic has filled her earpiece. What are you doing? Improvising. She let the yo-yo drop. It clattered to the floor between the guards. What is this? One hissed, nudging it with a clawed foot. Some kind of explosive? Said the other. The yo-yo spun lazily back into the air. Both guards followed it with wide eyes, just as Lyra dropped silently behind them. In one fluid motion, she extended her collapsible rifle and jabbed the stock into the first guard's throat. He crumpled with a wet gurgle. The second turned too slow. Her knee connected with his chest plate, and he staggered. A silent shot ended his surprise. Thanks for playing, she whispered, stepping over their bodies. The doors hissed open. The control deck was cathedral of glass and steel, lined with alien runes glowing faintly in the dim light. And there, standing in the center like a black-scale god, was Overlord Zyrak. He turned slowly to face her, his crimson cape pooling on the floor. Lyra. Hi, Dad. She rested Betty against her shoulder. You look taller. Did you have work done? You shouldn't have come here. His voice was low, dangerous. Funny, you say that every holiday. And yet here I am. Drop the weapon. Drop the daddy issues first. Zyrak's claws flexed. You always were a disappointment. Half human, half Imperial, and wholly useless. I should have purged your Terran blood when I had chance. Ouch! You know, therapy books say that kind of talk is why kids rebel. I didn't raise you to be a rebel. I raised you to lead. Funny way of showing it. You destroyed my home. You took my squad. And now you're surprised I came back with a vengeance? Real Emperor material, Dad. Enough! Zyrak roared, slamming a clawed fist on the nearest console. Sparks rained down as the system fritzed. You want me to respect the Empire? Lyra said, voice rising. Then maybe stop acting like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Your flippancy is your weakness, and your arrogance is yours. He lunged. Lyra ducked left, Betty's stock swinging up to block his claws. Sparks flew as metal screeched against bone. She rolled back and fired a shot. It glanced off his armor, but the force staggered him. You've improved, Zyrak growled. Yeah, well, YouTube tutorials help. You still lack discipline. Maybe, but I've got duct tape and rage. They circled each other, 2 predators locked in a dance of grudges and blood ties. You think you can win? Zyrak snarled. Against me? Against the Empire? I don't need to win, Lyra said softly, her finger tightening on the trigger. I just need to make sure you lose. Before she could fire again, a klaxon blared overhead. Warning, Imperial fleet approaching. Estimated arrival, 3 minutes. Lyra's stomach dropped. Zog, what the hell? She hissed into her mic. They know you're here. They're going to destroy the flagship to take you out. Classic Empire overkill, she muttered. Zyrak's grin widened, fangs gleaming. You're out of time, daughter. Yeah? So are you? She dove for central console, slapping a small device onto it. What are you doing? Zyrak bellowed, leveling the playing field. The device chirped as it began transmitting a data virus through the ship systems. One by one, screens flickered, then began broadcasting Lyra's voice on all Imperial channels. This is Lyra Zyrak. Half human, half Imperial. Fully done with your crap. Today, the Empire learns what happens when you push Earth girls too far. She slammed the console, sending the signal galaxy-wide. Zyrak roared and lunged again, but this time she was ready. She sidestepped, grabbed a loose wire, and jammed it into his armor. Electricity arced, and the Overlord howled in pain, collapsing to one knee. Lyra leveled Betty at his head. Say goodnight, Dad. The klaxon blared louder. Lyra, the fleet's here. Get out now or you're toast. Her finger hesitated on the trigger. I could end it, right now. But no, not like this. Not with the Empire watching. You don't get to die easy, she growled. You're going to live with this humiliation. She slammed the butt of her rifle into his jaw. Zyrak crumpled, unconscious. Lyra sprinted for the auxiliary hangar as the ship trembled violently. Debris rained down. Flames licked the walls. She vaulted into an escape pod, fingers flying over controls. Buckle up, Zog, she muttered. We're not done yet. The pod shot from the flagship just as the first Imperial torpedo struck. Behind her, the control deck erupted in a blossom of fire. Lyra stared at the wreckage, her jaw tight. One ship down. Whole damn Empire to go. And for the first time in years, she felt alive. The escape pod tumbled end over end through the blackness, its hull screeching under the pressure of debris-strewn space. Inside, Lyra gripped the harness with white-knuckled fingers as red warning lights strobed across her vision. Alarms wailed like dying animals. Zog! She barked into her comm, spitting out blood from a split lip. Tell me you've got an exit vector before we get turned into Imperial confetti. The alien's panicked voice crackled through her earpiece. Your pod trajectory is unstable. You're heading straight for the fleet blockade. They'll vaporize you before you even... Then reroute me, genius. Or do I have to duct tape this thing to a comet and hope for the best? I'm trying. Zog wailed. Do you have any idea how hard it is to hack an Imperial fleet while wearing a stolen janitor uniform? You're lucky I didn't make you wear the bucket, too. The pod slammed hard against an energy wake from a passing dreadnought. Lyra's head cracked against the console, stars exploding across her vision. She tasted copper and rage. All right, she muttered, flipping the last of her homemade charges onto the console. If they want to play rough, let's give them something to chew on. Lyra, no. Zog shouted. That's not... Wait, is that an Earth-made explosive? What are you doing? Improvising. It's what we do. She twisted the fuse, grinning through the blood on her teeth. Good night, boys. Behind her, the crippled flagship detonated in a cascade of fire and shrapnel. The explosion punched through space with such force that the nearby Imperial vessels veered off course, hulls groaning in protest as shock waves slammed into them. Lyra's pod rocketed away, silent but fast, riding the chaos like a surfer on a tsunami. Earth girls, she muttered under her breath, are dangerous. The Imperial comms crackled across the fleet. All units, engage evasive maneuvers. Protect the Overlord's escape vessel. But no escape vessel emerged from the burning flagship. Lyra smirked faintly, her vision swimming. Guess Daddy didn't make it out. Oops. The pod spiraled into the shadow of a shattered asteroid field, and Lyra fought to keep her eyes open. Her muscles screamed. Her head throbbed. But somewhere deep in her chest, she felt the tight knot of grief and rage slowly unraveling. One ship down, she thought. One man down. And the whole damn Empire shaking in their boots. Back in the flagship's ruins, a faint signal pulsed in the void. Hidden deep beneath twisted metal and fire, a cracked escape capsule clung to life. Inside, Overlord Zyrak's reptilian eyes snapped open. He was alive. Barely. And angrier than ever. 3 days later, in the wreckage of an abandoned human outpost on Mars, Lyra sat cross-legged on a makeshift cot, cleaning Betty with slow, deliberate care. The sniper rifle's parts gleamed in the dim red light as she wiped them down with an old Terran t-shirt that read, "Don't mess with Texas." "You're insane," Zog muttered from his corner, hugging his knees. "You've got every Imperial fleet scanning half the galaxy for your face, and you're sitting here, polishing that cursed weapon like it's your pet." Lyra shrugged. "Betty likes the attention." Zog's scales flushed pale. "You killed the Overlord." "Maybe." She clicked the rifle's chamber shut with a satisfying snap. "Or maybe I just embarrassed him in front of every system under his rule. Do you know what they're calling you out there? The half-breed ghost. The sniper witch of Earth. The Empire's nightmare. Catchy?" Lyra said, tossing a scrap of duct tape between her hands. "Did they make T-shirts yet?" Zog groaned. "You think this is funny? It's hilarious. They have the most advanced tech in the galaxy, and I took their flagship offline with chewing gum and a bottle of soda. If I don't laugh, I'll start crying." The sound of boots crunching in the dust made them both freeze. Lyra's hand snapped to Betty, swinging her into position. "Identify yourself," she barked. A figure stepped from the shadows, a human woman in torn fatigues, bruised but unbroken. Behind her, a ragtag squad of women soldiers limped into the light, weapons slung across their backs. "Captain Reyna Torres," the woman said, "we heard about what you did. You saved us, even if we didn't see it happen." Lyra's lips twitched into a wry smile. "Don't thank me yet. This fight isn't over." Reyna crossed her arms. "So what's the plan, half-breed ghost? You're going to keep taking pot shots from the shadows?" Lyra stood slowly, slinging Betty over her shoulder. Her eyes were dark, cold, but there was a glint of something more, a spark of purpose. "No more shadows," she said. "We hit them where it hurts. We take their ships, their systems, their pride." Reyna tilted her head. "Sounds ambitious." "It's not ambition." Lyra's voice dropped low. "It's payback." As the two women locked eyes, a faint transmission crackled in the air, a message broadcasting across the galaxy from the Imperial homeworld. "This is Overlord Zyrak." The voice rasped, raw with fury. "My daughter has betrayed her bloodline. She is an enemy of the Empire. Any world that harbors her will be burned. Any who aid her will be annihilated. And when I find her, I will finish what I should have done years ago." Lyra grinned at the sound of her father's voice. "Daddy's still mad. That means I'm doing something right." She turned to the squad of freed women. "Ladies, I think it's time we gave the galaxy a crash course in Earth-style rebellion. You in?" One by one, they nodded. Reyna smiled grimly. "What do we call ourselves?" Lyra's smirk widened. "The Sisterhood of Snipers." Above Mars, the first Imperial scouts entered orbit, scanning for life signs. Lyra stared up at the sky, her hand steady on Betty's trigger. "Let them come," she whispered. "Earth girls don't scare easy.